Good day everyone, I'm Sumit and I'm back with a new and evolved Blender tutorial series just for the beginner users, and this video is ascribed to creating a designed teapot using just an extrude and scale tool. So without any further ado, let's get down to business. We'll start with the modeling by just deleting all this default objects which is present in my scene, and let me just turn on my screencast key so that what I'll be doing will be updated right there. Now we'll start modeling that teapot by introducing a circle. Start by using a circle, and I'll ascribe the vertices to limit the vertices to about 12, and for the ease of the modeling I'll go to the front orthographic view by hitting numpad 5 and then numpad 1, and we'll start with the editing, or we'll start modeling this teapot. So I'll go to the edit mode by hitting tab. As you can see, these 12 vertices is there. Now I'll select one vertices after the another and leave 6 vertices unselected, and also I'll just select all the 6 vertices and then drag them up along the z-axis by pressing and holding the left mouse button, right hovering my mouse over this blue arrow, which is the Z key, which is the Z axis actually, and then by clicking and holding with left mouse button I'll just drag these vertices a little bit up right about there, and yeah, that's my wave that I've created. Now we'll select each and every vertices, hit E to extrude, lock the extrusion to z-axis, and then hover my mouse down a little bit, and I'll leave it there. Now as you can see that the vertices are running in a zigzag way. Now it's very important to have your mesh to be cleanly topologized, or what am I saying to have a clean topology along these vertices. So I'll go to this selector, which is transformation manipulators. It actually if I'm dragging this z-axis again, it will smooth, or it will stray them my edge flow right about there, and then I'll just scale it down a little bit, just right about there. Now we are done with these manipulators. We'll just go to these selections, or the transformations selecting tools, which is actually translate. Now I'll extrude it along the z-axis once more, and then hit S to scale it up a little bit right about there. Now the same tedious process of extruding and scaling will be formed until the basic shape is got actually, and right about there. Now as you can see that we have got a nice pot like shape, but it's hollow from the inside. So what I'll be doing, I'll hit with this bottom vertices selected, I'll hit E to extrude without moving my mouse any further, hit S to scale it down a little bit, and hit 0.8 to have a 80% of the radius of the previously selected vertices. Now what I'll be doing, having done this thing, I'll hit E to extrude, Z to lock it, and then drag it a little bit down. Maybe I'll just scale it down a little bit, and then hit E to extrude, Z to lock it down to the Z axis, and then again hit S to just increase the scale, and then hit E to extrude, lock into the Z axis for a little bit, and then S to extrude. Now this time I'll repeat the process what I did on the rim or on the top rim. So what I'll be doing, I'll select again one vertices after the another, sorry, this one, and this one and this one. So we have got 6 vertices selected and 6 unselected, and then I'll drag it down a little bit, just a little bit, not too much. So we have got our basic shape, but still we have got a hollow inside this pot. So what I'll be doing, I'll just select this one, yeah, this one. No, it is better to select this edge vertices, hit E to extrude, S to scale a little bit, and then again hit E to extrude, then Alt, pressing and holding Alt, then hitting M. I'll just let me just hit E to extrude, and then Alt M to merge it at the center. So we have got our mesh closed. And one thing that I've noticed that the normals is flipped right there. So I'll select each and every one, and then by hitting A and then by hitting Control N, I'll flip the normals outside rather than inside. So we have got our normals very correctly in selected. Yeah. So we have done with the basic shape of the teapot. Now it's time to check how the mesh is actually looking. So I'll just go to this little wrench, which is actually a modifiers tab, and add a subsurf modifier to it, which will smooth my my mesh even more. So we have got a very good smoothed pot with a wavy structure or wavy top going on, but still we have got a lot of work to do. So I'll just click on this little I button, which will just toggle on and off to the viewport of my mesh, and then by selecting this edge or this edge flow, I'll hit Alt S to scale it down like that, and then let me just see how is it looking, and it's looking quite nice. Maybe I can even scale it down a little bit by hitting only S, and yep, it's looking rather nice than it was before. Now it's time to add some solidification modifier to it, but before going to that, let me just create the other part of this one, of this teapot that I have created. Now we have created the basic body by just hitting extrude and scaling. Now it's about time for the handle and for the nozzle to get up. So I will just go to the right orthographic view by hitting the pad 3, and then selecting these two faces by just going and clicking on this little area, which is transluciding or transforming, toggling the selection from the vertices to the edge selection, the face selection. Select these two faces by holding Shift and then hit E to extrude, or it is better to do in a shortcut way. You can easily do that. You can see that these axis, or these x-axis and y-axis as well as the z-axis is coming into the view. You can always toggle it on and off by clicking this little button right there. So I have seen that with this axis turned on, sometimes it's sometimes it's very hard to extrude some things. For example, like this, if I am pressing control, by pressing and holding control, and then if I'm left clicking anywhere, you can see that it's not extruding, but if I'm going over there, it's easily extruding. So I'll just toggle it off, and now I can have an ease with this extruding process. So I'll just click it right about there, and automatically you can see that the faces have been extruded. Now it's time to scale it down a little bit, and maybe even rotating along the y-axis a little bit, so that this face is going on top, and then again hitting E to and then again by pressing and holding control, left clicking on this area, I've again extruded this, and again rotating on the y-axis. Maybe one more extrusion is needed. The one thing I've seen that the extrusion is too far, or the mouth is actually getting too far from the body. So what I'll be doing, I'll just turn on my proportional editing by pressing O, and then by pressing G I can move it where I want this to move. Now again I'll just toggle this edge selection mode, select all these edges, and then press G to grab. With my proportional editing turned on, I can move it right in the proper place while I want this. Well, I want this edge to go right about there. Maybe rotate it a little bit. Let me just turn the proportional editing off, and right about there. And a little bit of a scaling is needed, because you can already see that it's looking horribly awkward. Now it's time for to select this vertex selection mode, and toggling this axis on. I'll just press and hold with the Z key to get a little bit of a rounded shape, or a rounded edge flow along this mouth, or the nozzle that we have created, or the funnel that we have created. Now then, going to the face selection mode, I'll select these two faces and then delete these faces. Now let me just put this thing into a little bit into a little test by just clicking on this little I button, which will enable this subsurf modifier in my viewport, and you can see that it's not looking too bad, although it's not looking as a funnel indeed, but still it's not looking too bad. So we'll just go to this vertex selection, and we'll add another extrusion right about there, and rotate it along the y-axis right about there. And then it's now time to go to this little scaling button and scale according to the y-axis, so that this edge, the mouth of this nozzle don't look too flat along the y-axis. A little bit, and a little bit over there as well. Yes, and it's looking better than it was before. So this was the nozzle that I've created, and it's now time to create the handle with the same procedure, or with the same process that we have created the nozzle. So what I'll be doing, but a little bit of a changing is needed. I'll go to the left selection, or left orthographic view, by hitting Control and then hitting numpad 3 to go to this left selection mode, and then selecting these two vertices, and again these two vertices. I'll hit Control B to add a beveling, to add a bevel to this little edge flow that we're going. And then the same process with this one, little b for the beveling it up. Now the whole point of this thing is selecting this one and toggling it off. If I'm holding control and then left clicking anywhere, again it is extruded. Now this works as a charm, because all you have to do is go till there and then again select the down face that we have created by beveling it up and extrude it. Extrude it right about there, and then all you have to do is mix them, or better to say join them together, so that there won't be any problem at all. I'll just rotate it along the y-axis, and yep, like there. Maybe a little bit, it was a bit too much. Yeah, like that. Now still it's not looking too good, but it's not a pain in the ass. Sorry about that. So I'll delete this face, and again I'll delete this face, and going to this vertex selection, I'll just join them together. So selecting this vertex as well as this vertex. Now always keep in mind to keep these vertices uniform. I'll just hit Alt M, merge these two vertices at center. Now repeat with this with the same process with the other three vertices, always merging at the center, so we have got one nice edge flow, or a nice edge flow over there. Now it's looking weird, so what I'll be doing, I'll just turn this little button on, which will enable me to see through with these vertices. With this toggled off, I can only select the vertex which is actually being seen to my viewport, and it will leave this one untouched. But I don't want that. I want both of them, both of the vertices to be selected. So what I'll be doing, I'll just select this one, hold control, and then create a little lasso tool type selection, and you can see that you can see through with all the vertices. So it's time to grab it and make it a little bit of an edge, of a circled edge, so that the edge flow is will look nice enough. And just tweak with the little bit, just tweak with the edge flow a little bit, so that it looks rather nice. And the same thing with this, because the handle aren't that thick, isn't it? And yep, a little bit more. You can do it as you want your, as it actually suits your eye. If you're satisfied with the edge flow, that's good enough for you. And it's quite a simple process to do all these things, and it's also very handy to do these tweaking settings by hand instead of leaving everything to the computer, because it will enable your efficiency to work. When there is a complex project, you can easily work with that. Okay, so now it's time to select, to go to the face selection mode and selecting this one. Now I can drag them. Let me just select this one as well. Yep. Now just make it a little bit thinner than it was before, and yeah, like that. And let me just see how is my mesh looking. It's looking rather nice, but the handle is looking weird. So what I'll be doing, I'll just add a new loop cut into it and go to this vertex selection mode. I'll just click on this one, sorry, this one, and then just grab them. With my proportional editing turned on, I can grab them right where I want it to be. Let me just do it manually. Yeah, something like that. And a little bit of a tweaking's right about there, and add a loop cut right in there. So we have created, I think there's a little bit of an issue right about there. So what I'll be doing, I'll just select this one, sorry, yep, and just scale it according to the y-axis a little bit until it looks good. Yeah, it is now looking good. Now about the design, and you can also even turn it you can also even send it back and forth if you want. Yeah, I'll be satisfied with this one because it has got a nice handle. Now it's time to introduce the nice little crevice on the top of it. So we'll select these two vertex, which will leave this edge selected, and now it's time to add some bevel to it. By holding Ctrl B, I'll introduce a bevel and hit E to extrude, then just send it right about there. Hit R to rotate. You can also send it back and forth according to your design, and look at that, it's looking quite nice. You can also add some more design if you want to it. All you have to do is add, let me just do it to the bottom as well. So I have selected this one, this little edge right at down, hit Ctrl B to add a bevel to it. A very little bevel is actually needed. Hit E to extrude, just extrude it downward a little bit, and then it's all about dragging and rotating. Oh, let me just turn the proportional editing on. All you have to do is now rotate and your model is created. And for the bottom as well, I'll just scale it down according to the y-axis, and look at that, we have created a well-designed teapot. Now about the lid, what I'll be doing is, let me just give it a little bit of a more solidification to it. Bring that solidify modifier up and give it a little bit of a thickness, and we're done with the basic teapot body. Now let me just rename it as teapot body. And about the lid, what I'll be doing is I'll select this little edge flow, create a duplicate of it by pressing Shift and D to create a duplicate, and just scale it up a little bit. And by going to the wireframe viewport by hitting Z, I can again toggle with I can again tweak with the scale of this of that little edge, and now hit E to extrude it to the Z axis, lock it, and then I can scale it up. Hit E to extrude, lock this to Z axis, scale it down. Hit E to extrude, lock it to Z axis, scale it down, and then hit E to extrude, lock it to Z axis, and then hit E to extrude, S to scale it, and then hit E to extrude, Alt M to merge at the center. So we have created our lid as well. Now it's time to create that lid a little bit round and introduce a little what is that, loop cut, and then scale it up so that it looks like a rounded shape. And by selecting these by selecting any of these vertices of the lid, if I'm hovering my mouse over it and I'm hitting L, my lid will be selected, and hitting P, I have separated that selection to be a different object. So I'll rename it as the lid, and I can see that the lid is looking quite huge than the body of it. So I'll just go into the scale selection, I'll just drag it down and make it even flatter. So we have created our teapot as well as a lid. Make it a group, rename that one as a teapot, and you can see that the teapot and the lid has got the point of origin is right about there, but I want the point of origin to be at the base of this teapot. So what I'll be doing, I don't want this lid to go anywhere else, so I just want this to follow this the lid to follow the body. So what I'll be doing, I'll selecting this one at first and then selecting the teapot, and if I'm hitting Control P, I'll be setting my parent to the object. So if I'm moving this teapot, the lid will follow it. So I'll just move it right about there where I want my 3D cursor, where my 3D cursor is right now, and then go to the edit mode, and then go to the, and then just click on Control Alt Shift and then C, which will set my origin to the 3D cursor. So now that I have got everything, the base, the origin point of this mesh is set to the 3D cursor and not to the midpoint of my model. The one thing I've seen that the mouth is looking quite narrow right about there. So what I'll be doing, I'll just select this edge flow, turn on my proportional editing, and then scale it up just a little bit right about there. So it has got a nice, it's looking nice. Yeah, it's looking nice. So this was the modeling, and for the final step I'll just apply rotation and scale to both the lid and the body, so that if I'm UV unwrapping it, it won't get problematic. Now another thing that I've found out, that the bottom of this lid is acting rather weird. So I'll select this one and I can see what the problem is. I just have to select this one, hit G twice, let me just turn off my proportional editing, hit G twice and bring this up a little bit, and the problem is solved. So if you're having any kind of issue, so you just have to drag that loop cut. You can drag those loop cuts or any edge flow anywhere by just hitting G twice. So right about here. Yep. So we have created a nice little jug. Let me just save my project and we will go to the next part of the video, which is applying the materials. Now to add the material, all I have to do is to at first split my window into two different windows. I'll just start with splitting my window into two different layers, and then go to my wall tab, the background tab, and by just give it a little bit white background just for the sake of the tutorial, and you can see that it's looking rather nice. And we'll add a lamp, which will be a sun lamp, for example, and like that. Now you can see that the model is getting illuminated in a proper way. Now for this ceramic type of object, the node setup is quite simple to follow. So I'll just turn this window to be a node editor, and we'll click on this body of the teapot, and then I'll click on this plus or new button, which will automatically create a new material. The default material is the diffuse shader. The color is given right about there, and all we have to do is add a mix shader just in between this diffuse and this material output. And then the second shader will be a glossy BSDF. The glossy shader will automatically, when I connect this glossy shader to the second shader, you can see that the object has got some sort of a glossiness, but it's not looking as it is made of ceramics. So you can do it by just decreasing the roughness. The more roughness you will decrease, the more it will the more the light will be reflected, and zero roughness will act as a plain mirror like substance. But the ceramic has got a little bit of a roughness in it, so I'll just give 0.02 roughness to it. And for the diffused BSDF, I'll just, for the sake of the tutorial, I'll just give it a little bit of a yellow, or better to say, yeah, like that, a little bit of a yellow tint to the pot, to the teapot. And the mix shader, this is actually how it is controlled, how these two different shaders are controlled. So I'll just introduce another node, which will be an input, a layer weight node, and plug this facing value to the factor, and use the blend factor to be about 0.35, which will give enough of the diffuse material as well as the glossiness of it. And you can also add some sort of a Fresnel value to it, but I'm satisfied with this because it's a very basic shape. It's a very basic material for creating this kind of ceramic things. Now, one thing that I've seen that I can also increase the roughness if I want to. Maybe it's about 0.005 would be good. yeah, this one is looking rather nice rather than that the one that I've previously done. Now if you according to my to the thumbnail, I've used another shader which was a golden rim to this rim value, as well as this little mouth of the nozzle, as well as the handle had a golden tint on it. So what I'll be doing, I'll just select this edge flow, hit Control B to bevel it up. Sorry, I did a wrong job, I think. Let me just think about it. I think I applied that one. Let me just, yeah, that was my mistake. Yeah. So before going anywhere, I'll just go and apply this solidify modifier to it, so that we have got this rim, and I'll select this one as well, sorry, this one as well, and then I'll select this little edge flow, and as well as the bottom of this edge flow. And going to this material tab, I'll click on the plus button to add another material to it. We'll click on the new, and for the I don't want to create another different node setups again and again, so I'll just click on this new little button. We have got material 001 selected. Click on this little button plus to make it a separate one, and then I'll just give it a red tint instead of the, and then click on assign. So we have got two different colors in this teapot. And now for the lid, I'll just select this lid at first, and then the teapot, and then hit Control L, and we'll just click on the materials. So we have got the materials applied to the lid as well. Now for the modifiers tab of this lid, I'll again select this top vertices. Let me just select this one, and this one as well. So I'll just yep, like that, and go into this materials tab, go to this material 003, and then click on assign, and we have got the lid of the teapot to be glowing color as well. So this was a basic tutorial for applying this material, and yeah, that's it. That's how you create a teapot, and you can easily render a scene like this. It's pretty simple. So that's it for today, and I hope you guys like this a little bit of a beginner modeling tutorial. If you like this video, then give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. In fact, I'm very much thankful to all of you who has subscribed to my channel and who has given me their valuable comments. And yeah, I'll be if you want me to upload more and more videos like this, then support me, because support is all that a creator wants. And hope you guys like it, and very soon I will be opening my own website under the name Blender Pal. There I will be uploading these models for free, and some of the models will be very cheap only $1 property. So enough for today. I hope you guys like it. Bye.